Hey Dee, I saw those pictures you posted on Instagram of your new garden beds all dug up.
Yeah. Well, they're not dug up. They're all we did was weed eat the Bermuda grass to the
Uh-huh.
dirt because
Uh-huh.
that makes it easier to dig out. Because in Oklahoma, Bermuda grass has roots that go at least 12 inches into the ground. It is not a clumping grass like normal grasses. It is a runner grass. So I'm going to have to dig. I'm going to let Luz do that. Dig all of that out. And then we're going to add some stuff and add a pretty rock border. It's going to be awesome.
Okay, wait, hang on. That's going to be garden updates. I had to sneeze, so I muted, but people on the video are going to see me going, achoo, achoo, achoo. Anyway,
Yeah, but I talked for you, so you didn't have to
I know.
worry.
I do want to hear more about your plans, but we'll get to that once I start this episode.
Go for it.
Welcome to the Garden Angelist, where we chat about flowers, veggies, and all the best dirt. I'm Carol Michael from Indianapolis, Indiana. I have a suburban garden measured in square feet. It's about a third of an acre.
Oh, who am I? And I'm Dee Nash from Guthrie, Oklahoma, where I have a large garden at one house and a little garden at the new house.
We are garden angelists because we love gardening. We want you to love it too.
Yes, we do. And we aren't afraid to spill all of our gardening secrets, the good, the bad, and even the ugly. But let's move on to this week's episode. Good morning, Carol.
Good morning, Dee.
It's Sunday morning.
It is Sunday morning. And so let me tell you, last Monday we had snow. There was snow on the ground on Tuesday. And so I spent some time working on a presentation that I gave to the National League of American Pen Women Indianapolis chapter on
Did you
Saturday.
go or did you Zoom it?
No, I went. I went all the way up to Westfield, Indiana, it's about 40 minutes. Not bad.
For those who don't know, Carol doesn't even like to drive across town unless she has to.
Well, no, it wasn't bad. Yeah, it's not bad. You have to go on 465, and on a Saturday, that's not bad. During the week, that's horrible. Anyway, Garden
Mhm.
Club met at Newfields, our art museum, on Thursday. We had the Art in Bloom where they have fantastic flower displays to go with the art.
Mhm.
And today is the last day, Sunday. So if you're thinking, oh, I'm going to go up there and see that, well, it's done. My favorite little floral piece was done by a woman who's a therapist, like your daughter.
Nice.
And
Daughters.
it was
Two
such the,
daughters are therapists. Two.
yes, cutest little arrangement. And it was on an art display near furniture. Hard to describe. I think I'll put a picture in the newsletter.
Cool.
She had little surprises tucked in there, like a miniature couch inside that matched this couch in the art display. It was so cute.
Cute.
So on
Cute.
Friday, I went to a local gardening group at my public library branch, West
Okay.
Bluff. That was kind of fun. Always fun, gardeners get together. So out in the garden, the pansies and violas were so cold. On St. Patrick's Day, it was the coldest in
Mhm.
85 years, they said.
Wow.
So I naturally did not sow peas, lettuce, onions. That is no, no.
Mm-mm.
It's going to be 85 today or 82. Anyway.
It was 96 here yesterday,
Oh,
but
dear
today
Lord.
it's only going to be in the 70s, so that's good.
Yeah, we'll get to that on the others. Anyway, everything else was just kind of like so. How about your
Oh,
week?
you didn't do anything, did you?
I felt like I didn't do much when it comes to
You
the
did a
garden,
lot.
but I did stuff. I did stuff.
That was gardening related.
Yeah,
So it
everything.
works, right?
Oh, I posted about a lost lady at garden writing too. We'll get to her in
Yeah,
that rabbit holes.
I saw that.
And I
Okay,
wrote another
so,
blog post. We'll get to that, the rabbit holes. Now I'm done.
geez, okay. Nobody ever asked me about me. I planted my two plots out front, my gray big concrete pots out
I
front of my
saw that.
garage. They're really pretty. I also added some pansies and violas to my other pots. And I still have a few of those left to plant, which I'm going to try to get to. And then Luz came and he helped me map out my three new borders. And I love the big one out front. I'm looking at right now through the window and I love it. And someone's going to ask me this. So my house faces east. And yes, I checked that before I bought this house. I didn't care that the driveway was steep. I just won't drive on a snowy day, an icy day. It'll be okay. It happens
Exactly.
twice a year, right? But it was important to me that it was east facing and then the back faces west, which is exactly opposite of my old house. It faced west, and the back was east. So the east side is always your best side. And I'm going to put some roses in there. And I just have all kinds of things planned for that space.
Cool.
I'm so excited. I also worked in the old garden. I cleaned out the old house too. I'm almost done. And then I'm trying to decide, I bring that up because I'm trying to decide what to do about my plant stands that I had in the windows of the east facing back side. And I'm about decided I'm going to put the one plant stand on my back patio here,
Uh-huh.
maybe, and maybe keep the other one indoors. But I don't know. I can't decide. It's such a smaller house that it's really easy to junk it up really fast with my
Well,
junk.
to overdo
So,
a maximalist, sort of.
yeah, I mean, I'm maximalist anyway, but really I'm not. I really like just a medium thing. And
Sure.
it could definitely become maximalist. All right, let's play favorites. I'm just going to go first. It's the pots in front of the garage. I drive up in my car and they make me happy every day. And oh, I forgot to mention this. Grimm's Irrigation came out. Yes, people, that's who I use for irrigation if I'm not doing it myself. And they tested my whole water system because I could not figure out what it was doing. It was doing some really crazy, wacky stuff. And so I had them come out and they were very nice. It turned out I had a sprinkler head that was broken. Shouldn't be. It just got installed, but okay. But not by me. I should mention that. That was all done by the developer. And so who knows? And then on the side, they had a different kind of sprinkler, so that wouldn't work. So, and then while they were here, I talked to him about the drip irrigation, creating a shutoff valve because we can't find one. And he says that he can run drip to those two pots in front of the garage. That he'll run it through the expansion joints in
Very
the
nice.
driveway. So anyway, that's enough of updating, and that's my favorite. Go ahead.
My favorite is my violas. I wrote they are conquerors of cold weather, beacons of early spring bloom, heroes of horticulture who ask so little and give so much. They are victorious violas. They came through that cold
Yes.
snap marvelously. And I went out Thursday after I got home from garden club and I deadheaded them. They just sort of dried up the flowers. I deadheaded everything, gave them a good watering, and they look great. And I'll probably today or tomorrow, I'll probably give them a little tiny bit of fertilizer. Not much. They don't really need much. So, but that's my favorite.
No, but they appreciate just a little bit, or at least a top dressing of compost. And I'm going to go out and water mine in my pots because yesterday was hot and I didn't water yesterday. I watered the 2 days before. So, question of the week.
Well, before we get to the question of the week, we had someone sent us a text,
Oh, you
a
didn't
fan
put that in
mail,
the
and
notes.
I'm going to read it to you. It's from Anne in Louisville, Kentucky, and she wrote, "Love
Okay.
your podcast. I think of you guys as my gardening friends, and you're now our gardening friend, by the way. I wanted to make you and listeners aware of a potential threat to successful gardening. Last week, a lawn company accidentally sprayed my entire yard with pre-emergent herbicide. Even my
Mhm.
raised beds were peppered with dithiopur, Dithiopur. This herbicide is not approved for vegetable gardens or safe for little grandchildren, much less my pregnant daughter. I have lost a small fortune, but hope others will be
Oh
warned of
my
the cost of the
gosh.
perfect grassy monoculture." That is so sad. And that happened to my sister. Remember last year we had the lawn is dead. Why? And the
Hmm.
lawn care company would never fess up into anything. But before
Hmm.
that, I don't know, 5 or 6 years ago, she said she came home and a lawn company was spraying her lawn and it wasn't one she had contracted with. And she's like, "Who are you and what are you doing?"
Hmm.
So you got to be, they're out. And those guys, it's go time. They're in a hurry. Get out, spray, get on. Get out, spray, get on. They're not
So
always,
sometimes they make mistakes.
yes, they
And
do.
maybe you want clover in your lawn or broadleaf weeds. I don't know.
I would,
Um,
I would be very upset if a lawn company went in my backyard and sprayed herbicide back there because they would kill off all my crocuses, and that would be bad. But anyway,
yeah, it
on a
would.
happier note,
Hmm.
from my youngest sister, I posted a really old picture on Facebook on the header of Johnny Jump Ups, and I get this
Hmm.
reply: "Is it time for pansies?" It's like it's been time for pansies for 2 weeks. What are you thinking?
Yeah, and in Oklahoma, you can have pansies all winter long. But yeah. Hmm.
And then And then it's like, why didn't I tell her? Like, I'm supposed to
Be
notify
her
her of these things.
calendar person.
But then she texted me this morning, when can I plant herbs? She's suddenly into herbs. And I
That is a
you
really
know,
that is a really big question. I actually have a question next week for next week's deal, and it was also a really big question. People think they're asking you small questions, but herbs can be perennial herbs. They can be herbs that are, almost tropical. They aren't tropical, but close enough. They can be, basil. You don't want to plant it right now.
I basically, with the when do I plant herbs, it's like, calm down. Let's
You
wait till
got
frost
time.
is past. We can plant anything we want then. And we don't have to go through all this like, well, if you found this, you could go ahead and plant it. If you found that, you couldn't.
Yeah,
We'll
you
just
don't need to
wait.
plant it anyway.
Yes.
How funny. Okay. Are we ready to move on to the insect of the week?
Of course we are, unless you go ahead.
Well, you said it's not the insect of the week, but you saw a moth fluttering around an outdoor light yesterday. It seemed early, but who knows? You know what? I've seen a butterfly and a moth. Hmm.
I just saw that moth last night. I thought, I haven't seen a moth this early, but who knows? Anyway, the insect we're going to talk about that's not an insect is chiggers.
I hate chiggers.
I hate chiggers.
One time I wrote I hate chiggers on Facebook and they censored me.
We'll just go on from that. I looked up information on the Cleveland Clinic. So chiggers are actually really tiny mites. They're red, and every once in a while you can kind of see that little teeny tiny red dot on you. They
Hmm.
live in grassy or wooded areas, so basically everywhere, near water. They like warm temperatures, especially the summer, and they attach themselves to your clothes and they bite your skin. And it's most common to get them around the seams of your waist, around the seams of your socks.
Hmm.
They, like I said, they're a teeny tiny nuisance. There's nothing you can spray to get rid of these chiggers and everything. And the good news
Uh-uh.
is they don't burrow under the skin.
Uh-uh.
As far as anybody knows, they don't carry any diseases or anything. They just cause you to have red welts and itch like crazy.
Yes. And you can't do anything about them and other than you use calamine lotion or that one of those sprays on your ankles. But I'm just going to caution you about two things. Number one is because I've had chiggers, they will drive you insane. So if you are spraying yourself with that spray that's anti-itch spray, it usually has Benadryl in it. So you don't want to take Benadryl with that spray.
Oh,
Want to
good.
get orally because you can overdose yourself really easy. In fact, they are thinking about taking doctors are thinking about taking Benadryl off the market because a lot of people do overuse it. But that's just an aside. Okay, the other thing is the very, very small Lone Star ticks look a lot like chiggers, and also they produce a bite that looks similar to chiggers and it itches like chiggers. So sometimes people think that they get alpha gal syndrome from chiggers, but there hasn't been any proof yet that chiggers give it to them. That's probably nymph sized or larval sized Lone Star ticks. So my advice is wear the socks, wear the permethrin bonded socks,
I
and
do.
wear permethrin bonded clothing, especially if you're going to be in areas where you are clearing out debris or in the wooded stuff or mulch, because you're more likely to run into insects there, and
Right.
and creatures that aren't truly insects like chiggers.
Exactly. Like
And
chiggers.
actually, Lone Star ticks are spiders. So there you go.
I just put calamine lotion on them and move on.
Yeah, I haven't had a chigger bite in a long time, but boy, when I did, I thought I was going to lose my mind. All right, want to do the quote?
Nothing lasts forever. Gardens are ephemeral and they only take as long as the gardener's there taking care of them. Then they go back to wildness. And that is by you, D. Nash.
It was by me. Yeah, they only last as long as we do.
Exactly.
That
So
was from a video that I did about trying to explain why I was moving. And a lady took that quote and then she made it really pretty with Canva. And
nice.
so that was really nice of her. And
That was,
actually one of my clients said, "You say stuff like that all the time." And I said, "Do I?"
yeah, you do. You need to get back to writing once things settle down.
Yeah, if they ever do. I wish they would sell right now. Okay, flowers.
So we have a theme for this week. The theme for this week that I came up with is ask why to decide what to grow.
Okay.
And so we're going to do the why of flowers. So why do you want to grow flowers? And that'll drive what kinds of flowers you grow and maybe even how you grow them.
Mm-hmm. And
And
the first why was to get cut flowers.
right.
That's
And
really, really popular right now.
yeah, I would like to go back and say just very briefly that the book we talked about last week, Modern Floriography, which
Mm-hmm.
gave meanings to flowers, I think in the back of my mind, that gave me this why thing.
Mm-hmm. I want to say that Carol's been doing all the heavy lifting for me on the podcast lately. God love you. I just haven't had much time. Yeah. So to get cut flowers, if you're planting a garden to get cut flowers, you would plant very different things than from, say, just an ornamental garden. Not that cut
Right.
flowers aren't ornamental, but they're more of a crop. So they're more
They
like
are.
growing
And
vegetables.
interesting, I don't grow specifically for cut flowers.
I did. I'm not going to now.
But yeah, you might think about a section of the vegetable garden with rows. You want it like zinnias, roses, I would say,
Lisianthus,
lisianthus.
which look
So
like
think about
roses.
things that have a taller bloom or a taller stem that would
Hmm.
fit into a vase.
And follow my friend Jennifer. It's Ladybug Lane Flowers. She talks a lot about what she chooses to grow and why she chooses to grow it. And then
Yes.
you said to have something blooming year round. That's hard to do in Indianapolis. It
But
is
I do
possible in
it.
Oklahoma.
I
Hmm.
do it. That was the reason I started that whole Garden Bloggers Bloom Day thing 20 years ago
Yeah.
because of the quote from Elizabeth Lawrence, we can have flowers nearly every month of the year. And I challenged myself to have flowers. Now, January is a little bit sketchy because of the
Yeah, because the
hellebores.
hellebores aren't there yet,
They're
usually.
there. They're kind of
Well,
blooming.
You've got Niger, Hellebores Niger, but
Yes, the
it takes,
Christmas rose.
mine aren't even growing. My Lenten roses aren't done
But
yet.
usually they have a little bloom in
Hmm.
like November that kind of carries over. And depending on the year, I can get snowdrops blooming in January. So that's one of my reasons. So when I look at it, I look for things that are outside the normal bloom time. That makes
Yeah, me
sense.
too. Me too. And well, I look for stuff to make it easy. So you're like to make people slow down as they drive by. That's why I planted pink muhly grass in that one bed that faced the street, because in September people would literally stop and they sometimes get out of their cars and I hid in the house so I didn't have to talk. Because
So let
anytime
me
I worked out by the street, they would talk to me.
wait. So you planted something to make people slow down and stare and even stop. But then when they
I
did,
didn't want to
you
talk
hid
to
from
them.
them. Okay.
Pretty
Just want
much.
to
Yeah.
have our listeners do that. But yeah, there are houses that you go by and they've just planted something that's just too stunning. And the way they've just created something marvelous. And I always think about cottage gardens. That's a good reason to stop and stare. And I still
Hmm.
remember when I was at work and I was driving in Crown Point, Indiana, between two locations, and I was with somebody else. I think she was driving, and I said, "Stop the car on this." And like I said, "Back up a little." There wasn't any traffic. It was the most beautiful garden, and it was planted and it was not the showiest flowers. There were a lot of hostas, and it was like August time frame. A lot of them were blooming, and it just like, wow, this is something.
Hmm. That's how I felt about the garden on the way to Bustani that was on Highway 33 that was owned by a professor at OSU. And I did stop and talk to her once. I mean, after driving by it for years, I stopped to talk to her. And at the time, she was selling her house because her husband was ill.
Yeah.
And so it was a particularly sad time. But we had a nice chat. And let me just say, I don't mind talking to people about the garden. I really don't. It's just sometimes I don't get anything done.
Well, the other thing is like, I suppose the crocuses in my back lawn are for me because nobody really sees them but me. The
Yeah.
crocuses in the front, that's really so the neighbors are like, can mark their calendar by it. My one neighbors, like I've said, they head to Florida for New York Yankees spring training when the crocuses in Carol's lawn are blooming. So, and
Mhm.
it walkers slow down and they're like, huh, crazy gardening lady lives there. Woohoo.
So another suggestion is to enjoy your favorite flowers. I'd say people who grow roses, that's definitely true. People who grow irises,
Daylilies.
daisies, all those kinds of flowers that have I would also say they're sentimental. It's kind of a memory of the people that you've loved in the past because my irises remind me of my mother-in-law, my roses remind me of my grandmother, and the
Well,
daylilies remind me, I guess, of all my friends in the Daylily Club.
yeah, I kind of would break that into a subset. So to enjoy your favorite flower, so I've got all my
Mhm.
violas obviously planted, but then to remember all your favorite people that were associated with those flowers, I'd kind of break that into two things. So,
Okay.
I just would a memorial type garden where it's like, mom really liked X, so I'm going to always plant X, going to have lilacs, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera.
Hmm.
That's a good
Okay.
reason.
I wouldn't, but that's fine. You're much more orderly than I am. All right. And then you said to have a lovely evening garden, like a moon garden.
Yes. And this is for people, especially if you are somebody that, God love you, you're going to work every day. A
Mhm.
garden that peaks at noon is not really, by the time you get home, everything's all droopy. But if you plant that evening garden where flowering tobacco, for example, that's really fragrant
The
in the evening,
Cashiana. Hmm.
lots of white light flowers that as the dusk comes on, they sort of glow and brighten up.
Light colored roses would be pretty in that.
Yes.
They would still look good. And then, but I would choose light pink for here because white roses tend to turn brown as they age and it's not very pretty. Moonflowers are always a beautiful thing. Datura, if you are allowed to grow datura in your area, there it looks really good. Although it does close up its bloom, so that might not work. But it does have silvery foliage,
The
and
other,
that's another
the other,
thing. You could plant silvery plants like
you
some of the
could.
artemisias.
The other thing about the why is if you kind of have that in mind, it kind of, and I don't want to be the one to stop somebody from an impulse purchase at a garden center of a plant that just like stops them in their track. But there are some plants I look at and like, it's really lovely, but it doesn't really fit into my garden aesthetic, my
Hmm.
reason for gardening. So, I tend to not get too worried about the fact I don't have a banana plant, for example. It just doesn't fit into my aesthetic.
Hmm. I already grew it in a pot. It was
Yeah.
pretty, and I'm done. Okay, so shall we go on to the next quote in the topic? Or are you done?
Yes. That's the why. So think about the why, decide what you're going to grow in your flower garden. And we'd love to hear from our listeners about why
Mhm.
they like to grow particular kinds of flowers because there's a lot of reasons. Now you
There
can do the
are.
quote.
The first supermarket supposedly appeared on the American landscape in 1946. That is not very long ago. Until then, where was all the food? Dear folks, the food was in homes, gardens, local fields, and forests. It was near kitchens, near tables, near bedsides. It was in the pantry, the cellar, and the backyard. And this is from Joel Salatin, and it's folks, this ain't normal. A farmer's advice for happier hens, healthier people, and a better world. Well, he's right. I
So,
mean, supermarkets. Yeah, I don't even.
so the next question is why you're growing vegetables sort of decides what you're going to grow and even sometimes the varieties that you're going to grow.
Yeah.
Because when I was at the local gardening group, there were people they said, well, I'm going to start growing strawberries because they're concerned about like the food that they're getting at the grocery store and
Hmm.
like,
Pesticides.
well, not so much pesticides, but that they wouldn't be able to get the strawberries
Oh,
or that they would be so expensive. And
well, they might be expensive, but I can always get
yeah,
strawberries. But
and what I
they
wanted
don't
to
taste the same.
know.
Mhm.
So I think that they think that if they plant a little patch of strawberries, they'll have a lot of strawberries, and that may not always be the
That's not
case.
true. That's not true. You
So
won't.
the main reason I grow vegetables is to eat fresh in the season. So fresh
Hmm.
tomatoes, fresh green beans, fresh squash, fresh strawberries.
Hmm.
That's my whole thing. I feel like that, that's the season for eating fresh.
I agree. I mean, I grow garlic because it's really good garlic and it's garlic you can't get anywhere else. And that's another thing is there's when you grow your own, you can get varieties that you can't find at the supermarket. Just like we talked about a couple of weeks ago, there are things that are grown that are done commercially because they're easy to ship.
Right. And like
Or
my
they
cue ball squash, you cannot ship cue ball squash. It's
it's
too
too tender.
too tender. The skin is too thin, but it's a very delicious squash and also
It's
very
good.
prolific and easy to grow.
It
That's
is
the
an
reason to
easier
have
one
a
to
vegetable
grow.
garden.
And I also, the varieties they pick may not have as much flavor and they're picked at the wrong time. And, and they put ethylene gas on them sometimes. I mean, and believe me, I'm not going to have a vegetable garden this summer unless I don't sell the old house. Although right now I have garlic in it and a few other things. But do you see what I'm saying? I mean, there's strawberries already there, folks. So if you want to have strawberry patch already made, you can come to my house and buy my house.
Well, the other reason that people garden is they want to can and freeze and put up for the winter. This
Yeah,
is
not
a
me, but
totally different vegetable garden than what Carol is growing.
yeah, D too. I mean, I have done all of that with my mother and with my aunts and uncles and grandparents. I don't want to do that anymore.
Let's say it together. That's a lot of work.
That's a lot of work, girl.
And if you're like, and I don't mind if I have an excess of green beans to throw a few bags of green beans in the freezer, excess of peppers, throw a few bags of cut up peppers in the freezer. But I'm talking about people that they need bushel baskets full of tomatoes to make their sauces. And you're going to even choose varieties based on, I need a lot of this. So I'm going to choose
Production.
determinate tomatoes that are for production and so that I can and freeze. I'm not going to try to grow mortgage lifter, for example. That is not a good canning tomato. It's a
No,
slicer.
it's not. It's a slicer. So that's really good. And then here's one about teaching children where veggies come from because children really don't know anymore because of the
No.
way things are done. The other, I mean, that's sort of like when my kids were little and we also had chickens too. And all of their friends would come over and they'd want to go get eggs out of the hen house because they didn't get to do that. And they didn't realize that hens lay eggs.
Well, yeah, I have two stories about carrots. My niece, before she had her own children, she was a first and second grade teacher. She would wander around the lunchroom munching on carrots so that the kids
Hmm.
would know that you actually eat these things. They had never seen carrots.
Unbelievable.
So, and I could go off on a tangent, but I won't. And then the other thing is, I had a guy at work, and God love him, he had a daughter, and then they had triplet boys. But he was really intent on growing vegetables with his daughter, especially since she was a little older. And he said they tried to grow carrots, and the carrot crop failed.
Hmm.
So his wife bought carrots with the top still on
Hmm.
and planted them in the
Oh,
garden.
I know this story.
And
Yes.
then came back, and then they're like, "Oh, look, the carrots are ready." And then they pull the carrots out of the ground so that she could see.
That's funny. That's like
But
people
anyway,
replacing the goldfish that died.
exactly. What girl? No, the goldfish always looked like that. But anyway, it is to get kids out there. And I think, my love of gardening, your love of gardening was because we
Hmm.
were taught how to
My
garden at a
grandmother.
very early age. We got to
Yeah, my
do it. And
grandmother.
yes. So
Mhm.
I
I
think
got to
that's a
tunnel
great
along
reason.
behind her. And then, yeah, I think if you want your kids, don't make them do the hard stuff. Let them plant the fun seeds like the peas and the radishes, the big seeds, the green beans, stuff
Don't
like
make them
that.
weed and hoe out
Don't make
there.
them weed and help out. Just let them be near you and let them eat the really good food. That's the important thing.
Yeah, my older sister's really good about that with her grandkids, and she did it with her kids too. But her
Hmm.
grandkids are definitely a big part of growing the vegetables in their yard, and they don't have a
Yeah,
big garden.
I'm still going to have cherry tomatoes,
Of
this
course you
summer.
are.
I'll just put them in pots. It'll be fine.
Then the last reason I came up with, and there's many other reasons, the aesthetic of it all.
Hmm.
Then a lot of people don't think vegetable gardens look very pretty.
I think a lot of vegetable gardens can be really beautiful. It just depends on the biggest problem with vegetable gardens is that people get overwhelmed by what they started growing. And if it
Yes.
gets heavy production, they don't know what to do with it all. And then it just gets out of hand really quickly. So
Or they do
I,
end up with weeds and it's like you got
yeah,
to weed
tons
it.
of weeds. You
And
do
then the
have to
other
weed
thing
it.
that happens with vegetable gardens, it happens to both of us midsummer. Like if I grow squash, that squash is not going to be pretty all the way till last frost. It's going
No,
to
it's
get
ugly.
ugly
Pull
and have
it,
to be pulled out.
pull it, pull it,
So,
pull it.
so yeah, it's not always the prettiest garden, but it can be the prettiest garden. I
It can be
decorate it up.
beautiful. I think Gardenary, she on Instagram, I think she shows how beautiful it really can be. Now, she
Yes.
doesn't grow in either one of our climates, but she keeps up with that vegetable garden in an amazing way. So that's why it is so beautiful. And she has those hoops that grow out of her raised beds. And
Right.
well, the hoops don't grow, but she puts stuff on them to grow. And it's just really beautiful.
So again, if our listeners have other reasons why they're growing vegetables that we didn't touch on here, we'd love to hear it.
Sure.
I know one other reason. Let me tell you one other reason. Lady from my garden club, she grew a vegetable garden because she had these heirloom tomato seeds and she wanted to be sure that every year she grew that tomato and had those
Mhm.
seeds to harvest. That was another reason.
That's a good reason.
Now I'm done. I'm going to do a quote for the book. The many great gardens of the world, of literature and poetry, of painting and music, of religion and architecture, all make the point as clear as possible. The soul cannot thrive in the absence of a garden. If you don't want paradise, you are not human. If you are not human, you don't have a soul. Sir Thomas More. Pretty
Wow.
deep.
Pretty deep for today. So our friend wrote this.
Yes.
I'm so excited for her. She's a beautiful photographer and she's a sweet, sweet person. And we have sat on many a bus ride together for GardenCom. The name of the book is Art from the Garden, Create 25 Beautiful Botanical Projects by Carrie Michaels. This was published by Timber Press, and we want to thank them for sending us review copies. This is definitely a book I will keep. The cover and the inside are just as beautiful as they can be.
Now, we should mention to
And
our listeners this book is not coming out till May the 12th, which
which
is
is my anniversary.
it's right after Mother's Day, unfortunately. Would be nice if it
Unfortunately, it's too bad it's not coming out right before because it's the
yes.
perfect thing for right before. So we should explain that I think I'm sure she did all of the photography in this book and she did these projects.
Yeah. Now she has Liz
Look
and
at that.
my Mitchell's Micheels art and design consultant help
Look
is
at
her name's
this.
on the cover as well. But you gotta that's that Cenotype stuff with the
Yeah.
blue. That would be
Oh my gosh.
wouldn't that be nice in somebody's
Wouldn't it be
house that
pretty in my blue house?
yes. I wanted to say the introduction starts out with a quote from Kurt Vonnegut of all things. Yes, I
Yeah, of all
saw that.
things. Okay,
Pansy.
I'll quit showing the projects. Okay, you go ahead.
Practicing an art, no matter how well or badly, is a way to make your soul grow for heaven's sake. Sing in the shower, dance to the radio, tell stories, write a poem to a friend, even a lousy poem. Do it as well as you possibly can. You will get an enormous reward. You will have created something. Kurt Vonnegut, A Man Without a Country. He is so right. And
He's
yes,
right.
I did see the pansies. I did see the pansies and violas.
Mm.
Now, a couple of things that I tagged Dee. One, I thought this string orb thing was a neat idea.
That is so pretty. And so for people who can't see it because they aren't on YouTube with us, that string orb, it has lavender kind of drawn through it, lavender
Yes,
blossoms. And the string orb is green. And if in green and purple look really good together.
right. And so you kind of you mix you blow up a little balloon, you mix
Hmm.
the string with glue, and then you wrap it around the balloon. And then once it dries, you pop it,
You deflate the balloon.
and then you
Mhm.
can add flowers to it. And it's just I'm definitely trying that this summer. And then
Now
the
I've
other
done
thing,
flower pressing. Look at
I've done
this.
flower pressing.
Look.
That's really nice.
Yes.
And leaf pressing too.
I like the microwave version though.
Yes, I have done the
Fabulous.
microwave version.
Yeah.
Hammered botanical prints. Remember, I was into hammering a couple summers
You
ago.
were kind of
I
creeping me
need to
out.
get back
Yes.
to it.
No, you don't.
I do need to get back to it,
You're making
Dee.
the flowers scream.
They're not. Anyway, the other thing she has, which I think people don't think about, is floating bouquets. So you get a bowl of water and and then you cut the stems off the flowers and you float them. It's a great way
Which
to.
is great for hellebores.
I was just going to say that, Dee. You took the words right out of my mouth.
It's what I
Anyway,
do. It's what I'm here for.
I am going to.
It's
I'm
good for
going to.
daylilies too.
I'm going to tantalize my older sister, who is very crafty, with this book because I think I will let her borrow it because some of
Yeah.
these things would be great to do with your grandkids or if you have kids. These are great to do with other people. Just create something and make it a little bit more special. Bring the
Okay, so
garden
I just got to say,
crafts.
her floating bouquets, mine look nothing like that.
Well, she's
These are so beautiful. She is such
they
an
are
artist.
beautiful, and I would like to say, Dee, go back to the quote from Kurt Vonnegut. Just do the
Yeah,
best that you
just
can.
do the best you can. If it's not great, don't worry about it, man.
Anyway, I love this book, Dee.
I
It's
do
yeah.
too.
I'm
I love
I'm
this
gonna
book, and I actually love Carrie too. She's a
I'm,
wonderful conversationalist and a beautiful photographer, and apparently an artist also.
I am going to take this book to Garden Club along with the modern florography from last week. I'm going to take both of those
Yeah,
to
those
Garden
are
Club.
really great.
Anyway, the book is Art from the Garden, Create 25 Beautiful Botanical Projects from Carrie Michaels. Thank you, Timber Press. This comes out May 12th. We recommend this book. Or it's man, some of the books coming out right now. I just
They're so creative. I
they're
mean,
so creative.
we went through this stage for a while that everything was how to and everything was easy, 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 which you and I both know isn't really easy.
Right.
It's not easy. Nothing about this is easy.
Well, but now, but everybody felt like I got to get it perfect. I've got to get it right. And it's like, no, you just need to create.
No,
Take these
just get out
ideas.
there and do it.
I'm doing that string orb too. I might do string orbs for Easter. I don't have much time, but I might.
Okay.
I think they would be cute to hold some
Oh,
eggs.
you can totally do those. They aren't hard. I've done
All
them.
right. I'm going to. All right.
Okay, cool. Is it time for me to do a quote?
It is.
Cares melt when you kneel in your garden. Okakura Kakuzo. Okakura Kakuzo. I agree. I'm much better off when I go outside and play in the dirt. Much better.
Yes. So our dirt, and actually on Instagram, there's some accounts where people just walk up to random strangers and start talking to them. And
Oh my gosh, the ones where they share a cup of tea? That's my favorite one.
I don't know about that one, but this one, a guy walks up to Dr. Elaine Perry, who's a professor emeritus and retired. And we'll link to the Instagram so you can see it for yourself. But
It's awesome.
she says, basically, I would go to a garden. I'd go to the Dilston Physic Garden, which she created back in the early 1990s.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked it up. It's in Northumberland, England. And has a mission to cultivate plants for scientific research. They started welcoming groups and university visitors in 2005. They actually opened to the public. And now it's a registered charity to education, dedicated to education and research. 30 years on, it offers a wealth of benefits for visitors from near and far, providing an invaluable resource and a tranquil space that enriches the local community on many levels. And I thought, well, some good things come out of Instagram when we discovered this garden. And, I encourage people
Quite
to
a
look
few
at the
things,
website.
actually.
I'd look
Quite a
at
few
this
things.
website. There's just a lot of pretty pictures and interesting information. And anyway, and if you're ever in Northumberland, I guess you should go visit this garden.
I think you should too.
Anyway, that's our dirt, the Dilston Physic Garden in
Okay, your turn.
Northumberland.
Quote, quote, quote.
No one ever entirely grows up who lives in a garden. I feel sure almost all gardeners still believe in Santa Claus. And as for
You
fairies,
bet.
was it not in Kensington Gardens that Mr. Barry discovered all the facts about Peter Pan? Perhaps it is the help of the little people that makes gardening so easy for mortals. And that is Hannah Ryan in her book, Let's Make a Flower Garden from 1912.
So there are a lot of quotes out there by Hannah Ryan. A lot of
I
gardening
couldn't
quotes.
find many.
You couldn't? I see them
No.
all the time on Instagram. So
From
I should
Hannah.
start saving them for you. Yeah, from Hannah.
What? she's my latest lost lady of garden writing.
Well, she's amazing.
So
Unless I'm
she's the one.
confusing it with some other Hannah Ryan, which is always possible.
No, I don't think there's, but we talked about in 2023, Kurt R. McMaster III wrote a biography about her, and she was very
Hmm.
fascinating. And so I decided just to feature her and refer people to the biography. But she's the one that ended up in England in World War One
Hmm.
and was a proponent of twilight sleep for women in childbirth to ease their pain.
Good for her.
So,
Because
and then she wrote this very fascinating
childbirth is
book.
hard.
What?
Because childbirth is hard.
Yeah. I wouldn't, I have not experienced it myself, but here
Just
tell.
trust me, it is.
So anyway, people can read my latest about Hannah Ryan, and I don't find a lot of quotes out there, so I I'm trying to get some more out there.
Mm.
So you want to hear about my
That's
rabbit
your rabbit hole, we should say, because
to
that's what
find
we're
more Hannah
doing.
Ryan quotes?
No, you just you were talking about Hannah Ryan. It's one of your rabbit holes. Now, tell about the videos from the young woman in England.
So I started watching these videos. The YouTube channel is called Real Vintage Dolls House. Has nothing to do with dolls. But there's a
Okay.
young woman named Hannah, and I guess she's in her 20s. But she tries out life in the 1940s, but not in that creepy way where everything in her life has to be the 1940s.
Hmm.
But she's like I was watching one this morning, she was going to eat for 7 days on World War II rations.
Gross. No. Oh.
She did another one. It's like doing laundry like it's 1940s, which is
Hmm.
hard work.
Really hard. My grandmother, I mean, in the 1960s, she was still doing it like the 1940s. She had a wash tub with the
This
deal,
was
the
a
wringer that
plunger
you ran stuff
thing
through.
and then
No,
another
thank
thing.
you.
No, thank
No,
you.
no, no, no.
She does like the decor of the 1940s, so she'll clean like it's 1940 and where you don't have a vacuum cleaner, you don't have all the, not that you need all the chemicals
Gadgets.
and everything. But
Hmm.
anyway, she gave me the inspiration for an actual blog post that I wrote on Friday about she mentioned the word spinster core,
Okay.
which
What the
is
heck?
it's sort of like cottage core plus grandma
Yeah.
core and then single women equals spinster
Okay.
core.
Okay.
So I made up spinster core gardening, which is having a garden and then you hire people to do the heavy lifting, a la Miss
But
Jean
I
Marple.
do that anyway. Yeah.
I know.
Okay.
So you're practicing spinster core gardening in some
Well,
sense.
I'm practicing. My husband can't do anything gardening.
Well, spinster core gardening. I wrote it. I'm gonna make it the next big trend in gardening tea. I'm making it the next big trend because when you Google it, spinster core gardening, only thing comes up is my blog post, which I also put
Well,
on Substack.
yeah, you'll totally turn it into a thing because you've done that before.
So anyway,
I want you to know your books came with me to the new house.
that's
They were
nice.
they were part of the select group, and it's very
Uh,
select. I
that's
let
really
everything
nice of you,
almost
Dee.
go. I was like, if it isn't somebody I know and like really well, or if it isn't something that really inspired me, it's gone. And so you're in there, and that's
Thank
good.
you.
Okay, we have a bonus quote.
We
Because you
do.
sent this to me this morning. I had a massive garden, and the moment I downsized, I felt safe. And that's from Adam Frost, who is on Gardener's World, who had a huge garden like mine. And then he did downsize. And it's been very fun to watch him create this new garden.
Yes.
And I wonder why he felt safe.
I don't know. I
I
just
think
thought
that's
that was interesting
interesting.
and that you
I
might
need to
relate to
watch
that.
that. I need to watch that. I need to read that article you sent. Because you know what? I will say this. I feel more relaxed, and I'll feel even more relaxed when I get the other garden mulched and I get the paths in shape. Then I'll feel like I'm okay because we've got it all. It's all weeded, and I got to cut it back, but that would be under garden commissions. And we have a garden to visit first.
So we're still in Los Angeles, that trip we took in 2015, I believe it was.
Hmm.
Remember the gardens at the Natural History Museum in Los Angeles County?
Yes.
That's where we saw that docent talked about those hugel culture beds that we had never
First
heard
time
of
we'd heard of
before.
it. Yeah, we'd never heard of Hugel culture.
But
And
it's
now
where
it's
they
everywhere.
mound up sticks and logs and everything, and then they put the dirt on top and it sort of gradually sinks down. And she swore, and it was a terrible drought year, terrible
It was
drought year.
terrible there. Hmm.
She swore that they never had to water and those beds were thriving, and they did look pretty good.
Cool.
So anyway,
It was a cool place.
it is a
Okay,
cool place.
garden commissions. I'm going to keep working in the old garden, which I just said, keep it shape and ready. I still need to cut back some more of the roses, but I'm getting there. And then I need to finish putting some more pansies in these pots out front. I need to bring over the last of the pots I want, and I need to clean out the greenhouse. I'm garden coaching 3 people this week. And then I start working at the nursery again on the 28th. They open, I think, on the 27th, but they may just be stockpiling. So don't quote me on that. So, wow, what a week I have.
Yeah, you have like a week of 14 days. So drum roll, please. The landscaper guys are coming on
Woo.
Wednesday to work on the vegetable garden cathedral, straighten up all the edging, put proper mulch in the paths. Then they're going to do the
You're
other.
going to take pictures, right?
I'm going to take before and after pictures, yes.
Yeah,
And
please do.
I'm going to do that. And then they're going to do this other path. They're going to edge all the beds. And then while they're doing that or before, I'm going to set up the patio stuff. And then once they're done, I'll be sowing peas and lettuce and stuff right the next day.
Mhm.
I'm going to go down to Courts to get more flowers because one does that. She has stock down there.
Yeah.
She has more pansies and violas.
Mhm.
I also am probably going to start my peppers and tomatoes next week because it's time. I usually do it 6 to 7 weeks before I plant them, and I'm not in a rush to plant them. And then
Okay.
I may end up mowing in the front. The back has to, as they say, the crocus foliage has to cure. So I'm a long way from mowing that. But I
Yeah.
may mow in the front just to make it look nice, maybe closer to Easter. But anyway, that's it. Anything else, Dee?
Nice. I think that's a lot. I think we should
I
wrap
think we
this
left
baby
people
up.
breathless with all we plan to do next week.
Next week is rough. And I've got people, I mean, I'm not one to discourage anybody. You guys keep contacting me, but I've got people coming out of the woodwork who want garden coaching. And I'm like, I wish I had a clone. Maybe
Yes,
someday
indeed.
in another generation. Okay, let's wrap this up.
Thank you for listening to The Garden Angelist. We publish every week on Wednesdays at 12 a.m. Eastern Time. Be sure and follow us on Apple Podcasts. That helps us get noticed by others.
If you subscribe to our Substack newsletter, you get a link to listen to the podcast one whole day early, and you also get links to products we discuss. Plus, go over to YouTube and see us in person. Full episodes show up on Tuesdays. So if you can't wait until Wednesday, you now have 2 ways to get episodes on Tuesdays.
If you want to help support us, use our affiliate links. If you buy something after clicking through on them, we're in a small commission and it costs you nothing.
Or you can set up a monthly subscription through Buzzsprout or make a one-time donation through PayPal. You also have the option of pledging your support on Substack.
Thank you to everyone who has done so. It helps us pay for podcast hosting.
It was lovely to talk with all of you over the Garden Gate. Bye until next week.
Bye, everybody. But over on YouTube, stick around. We got something special for you.